Not when I'm doing
well, it's been recording for about a minute or so. So I'm sure we all got things off our chest that we wanted to.
I think you've incriminated yourself a little bit there.
She said that when she gets nervous, she curls her hair.
I didn't say that.
So, she had a perm last week. She was a bit stressed out.
No,
so she's not as stressed now because only at the bottom.
It's melting off.
I even curled my hair, like I was trying a little bit harder.
I clearly should have coordinated an outfit better.
You guys are lovely. Come on. You guys are here to talk about the importance of sleep.
Yes.
And sleep on mental health, sleep on brain function, development, overall health. Now, I got called out recently because I did a post on immunity. I think you know what I'm talking about. I did like a top 10 list of things that are important for immunity. And I didn't include sleep.
Did you call
Saw that? It wasn't me. Someone else did.
Well, you did piggyback.
I did.
You'd be like, oh,
I was like, hang on a second.
It's funny that you mentioned that random internet troll man, but I'd like to throw my hat into the ring. So I didn't mention sleep specifically. Now, that's just me retroactively trying to explain myself, but I did forget it. I think in an ideal world, I'll be like, oh, yeah, sleep. Yeah, but I think I went with the cool stuff, like vitamins and like other stuff.
However, studies are now showing that sleeping is more important than even working out.
For
so
what?
If you had to, for your health.
See, that's what gets me. How are you defining health? Like, so there's all these parameters. If you had
to choose between sleeping or working out, they say choose sleep.
That's a lazy person explaining why they don't exercise. I'm not exercising because I need to make sure my sleep quota is being checked for health. Thank you, NIH.
No, but it's not even about, it's the quality of sleep. It's not about the hours.
Yeah, okay. There's obviously something to be said about having good quality sleep. You just haven't said what aspect of health it's useful for.
The good quality sleep? Every aspect.
That's very broad stroke. That's our psychotherapist speaking. We'll leave you for the mental health stuff.
I will just ask questions and you.
No, I'm glad this is where we're going. We have to talk like this. So sleep is important, and I think I'm picking on you because you're saying what everyone knows. That sounded like an insult, but it's true. We know sleep is important for our health.
Yes,
it's one of the most, if not the most important, outside of like breathing and food. Sleep. Well, let's talk about like why sleep is important. What's it doing? What's the effect of not having good sleep? Maybe Alana, she can jump in on this because she's our expert for sleep.
I mean, for brain function, we all know that when we have a lack of sleep, we get like a brain fog. And so it makes it harder for us to function, make decisions. It heightens our anxiety as well when we don't sleep well. So, when we do sleep well, our brain function can, it's like that restoration and repair time when we're sleeping. So like our muscle tissues are repairing themselves. That's when our memories go from short-term to long-term.
Sure.
Which sometimes I think I'm missing that piece, not having that long-term, memory, as well as that's when our cognitive functions, those abilities to make decisions, to, stay focused on things. All of that contributes to it. Your mood.
Yes.
When we sleep well, we're just in a better mood, right?
Yes.
When we haven't slept well, the next day you wake up, you almost feel like you have a hangover. You're very cranky. You're hard to, have conversations with. So, sleeping well will, it's kind of like a ripple effect, between our mood, our cardiovascular health. Not sleeping well contributes to heart disease, diabetes. And I mean, we really don't want to go down that path.
Sure, I don't.
I mean,
that was well said. I think that's what you were trying to say.
This is what I was trying to say, except I like to keep things broad, right? I like my clients to answer those questions, to fill in those blanks. No, but in all seriousness, there's even studies that are showing that heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, right? So how do we now proactively do the things we need to do in order to get to a place where we aren't dealing with the Alzheimer's, dementia, those things. And that's why I think it was important to have Alana here, because a lot of times I think what happens is as adults, we're like, okay, where do we go from here? But then there's this, the idea that maybe if there was an opportunity to have an early start, right? Develop those things from the beginning for it to kind of become almost automatic.
Well, I think that's wise. So that let's look at sleep in infancy and in childhoodness. I don't think I slept well. And I bring that up because I feel as, if you've got kids and you see how they act when they have poor sleep versus what we think might be enough sleep versus when you speak to an expert and you'd be like, no, they need a ton of sleep. And you can kind of see how patterns in childhood that they're like, this is a cranky kid. And you can see that in adulthood. And you can see how things are like, you just don't really know what sleep is for you. And we have an idea of what it's doing. And we know it affects every aspect of our health and it can impact and lead to disease. But can we speak about like why sleep is so critical in infancy? And then maybe from there we can scale up and understand why it's so important in adulthood.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of the times, babies don't come with a manual, right? We just get this baby, we bring it home, and we're not really sure what to do because nobody educates you about sleep beforehand. We take all of these prenatal classes on how to have a baby and all of that, but nobody teaches you all of these other pieces. And so it's really important to know, how much sleep children need in order for them to develop appropriately as well. For their cognitive abilities, for their behavior, for their mood, all of that stuff, right? So during infancy, we really are looking for like 14 to 18 hours in that first year of life of sleep per day. So including naps and nighttime sleep.
Some people think that's crazy.
Absolutely, right? When I work with families, they're like, I'm sorry, how much? My
18?
child doesn't nap at all.
Achieve, yeah.
Do you know how many hours are in a day?
Yeah,
like 24. So they're going to be awake for 6 hours.
So in the early newborn stages, right, like 0 to 3 months, that's really when we're getting like 16 to 18 hours. But some people come to us and like, well, my newborn like is awake all day long and crying constantly, and they're just like not consolable. And it's like, well, this is why, right? If you have to help them get to sleep at that stage, right? And so whether that's holding, rocking, feeding, especially in the newborn stage, we can include all of those things to help our children get to sleep. We want them to get to sleep and learn, teach them skills early on to get that independent sleep. So quite often we don't provide opportunities for independent sleep, which is how we get into, parents whose children don't sleep well. And so, we obviously in the newborn stage want to soak up all of those cuddles and contact naps and all that, but provide opportunities. So allow your child to try to fall asleep, alert and awake. And if they're struggling, then, obviously offer some support.
There's a nuance there that, like you said, the infant is like crying and inconsolable.
Yes.
But there's a lack of connection. People realizing that infant is tired.
Yes.
Or is lacking sleep. Maybe that's a better term, because they may not seem to be tired, because if they're up all day, our idea is like, oh, if they're awake, they're not tired.
Yeah.
So how do we reconcile that? How do we make sense of that? Because obviously on the other end, when you start sleep training and you have them on a schedule, you're like, oh, they're so much better. They sleep more and they want it, they welcome it.
Yes.
But there's that disconnect where it's like they're wide awake and they are tired-ish. Right?
Yeah, so that's what people think, right? They're like, oh, they're not tired. They stayed awake all day. But then people will come to us and say, oh, they have a colicky baby, right? I have a colicky baby. I've tried everything, nothing is working. And so this is why, just the educational piece of knowing, if we know from the get-go how much sleep, kind of each childhood stage, even into teens and adulthood, how much sleep we should be getting, that would help a lot more. And to know, like, there's these wake windows, these windows of opportunity that we can keep our children awake. And if we keep them awake too long, they become overtired, and then it looks like they're no longer tired, right? And so we just get caught in that cycle, and then it becomes hard for our children to settle and fall asleep, right? So we really want to teach new parents, even in before, the baby is born, what these wake windows are, how long we should keep our children awake, so that, if we are getting to that time frame, like newborns can stay awake for like 45 minutes to 60 minutes, right? And some of them are staying awake for like 4 and 5 hours at a time, right? And so they just get into this state of being overtired. But if we can teach, families about, kind of these windows of opportunity and how we can follow them to really guide our children to successful sleep patterns, then I think it would be a lot easier to, have healthy sleep habits in your home.
I also, it's one of the things I flag in speaking with like new parents, because sleep training is wonderful for the infant, but also for the parents, right? So one of the chief things we think about is like the mom that's like up all night and it's like she's just pushed to the limit. And sleep training, I think, kind of gives a little bit of a reprieve at some points in the day so that mom can sleep, or you guys, even as the infant becomes a toddler, mom and dad have a little bit more like downtime. They actually have evenings, as opposed to when I ask someone, it's like, well, what do you do for fun? It's like, what do you mean fun? I lie down in their bed, and until they fall asleep, if I leave, they wake up. So I'm there 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whenever they go to bed. So when I introduce sleep training, the idea is not just for the infant, but because, the mental health of like the mom and the parents, like that's got to be, I'm sure you have clients that when they come in, they're like, oh, my kids run my life.
Yeah. And even people clients that don't have children, for whatever reason, they are sleep deprived. And I think there are some, I know there's like the whole idea of, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't sleep train my kids. I wish I did. But
it's never too late.
The idea, right? Okay, so this is what I was saying. The idea that you leave them. I think you leave them in the crib, and whatever, you walk out of the room and you let them.
It's one method.
Right? There's some of that.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, I think there's this common misconception that sleep training is just cry it out.
Okay.
Right, and people.
It's a good method.
It is an effective method, but so many families are not comfortable doing that, and so a lot of families won't go the sleep training route because they just think there's only one way.
Okay, right. So then that's something that, I was curious about, was what are the actionable items that pertain to babies, but then also things that as adults we can be like, okay, these are the things I can do. We hear about sleep hygiene. So there's like that idea of like, having the right temperature before you go to bed, the lighting in the room. Right? I've started to use a sleep mask. Kids are using sleep masks too, because apparently even any type of little light is, even like the little flickering of a light on like a lamp or whatever, those are
even
things.
From an alarm clock, right, that has the light. We really want the room to be like pitch black.
So did you do that before you started the sleep training thing, or was that something that you learned from?
I learned from, my journey, and, we hired a sleep coach for my 2 older children. And this is where, I became so fascinated by the transformation that comes from this process, right? And so she's the one who really taught me about, having blackout curtains, making sure the room is really dark, those little tiny lights on monitors, alarm clocks, things like that. Those can distract us from sleep. And so we want to make sure it's super dark. The idea of using a sound machine, right? I had never in my life even contemplated a sound machine until, I met this woman who introduced, having a steady sound playing so that, you can fall asleep and stay asleep and not be distracted by outside noises, especially in the winter, the snow plows coming around, the spring, the birds chirping at, 5 a.m. We want to eliminate all those outside factors that can wake us up, right? Siblings.
So like a naysayer they may throw out it's like, well, isn't that nature? Like, when the sun's coming up, don't you want the sun to wake you up? Or, if there's going to be sounds, I want them to get used to hearing things. Yeah. I mean, that's somewhat like a somewhat negative or like a dismissive approach. But how do you answer to someone and be like, listen, like if you're trying to train them, you want to kind of control as many factors as possible.
Absolutely. We want to set them up for success, right? I mean, yes, we love natural light, right? And this is one of the things we encourage is exposure to natural light. It's just a matter of the time of day we want to expose ourselves to natural light. Mm-hmm. If you love to be up at 5 a.m., then don't use blackout curtains in your room, and get that natural, gradual, sunlight coming into your room to wake you up. Now they make all of these cool clocks that, mm-hmm. Emulate this natural sunrise kind of in your face kind of thing. So, you really want to set them up for success by doing, you know, all of these things. But I mean, if you don't want to do them, you don't have to, right? They don't impact everybody, right? Some people are not bothered by light shining on them, you know, while they're sleeping. But we want to eliminate any factors of waking, you know, children, teens, adults up when they don't need to be, right? So blackout curtains really do, you know, help with that.
I want to migrate to like older children and teenagers, because those are two categories where we kind of assume that, well, they're big enough, they can sleep on their own and they'll get enough hours. If they're tired, they'll go to bed. But that may or may not be the case, because one, we have these devices that kids are using later and later, and sometimes they're sneaking into their room. Can you speak to like the damaging effects of devices with like children and a teenage sleep?
And adults.
And adults.
Yeah. I mean, screens are huge. They are definitely a part of our society in every way, shape, and form. And, you know, our children, younger and younger, are being exposed to screens, right?
Sure.
You know, they come out of the womb knowing how to scroll and all of that, right? But it's not that they can't be exposed to screens. We just want to limit when we're using, you know, screens, right? So if your child is napping, we're talking children, you know, or even, you know, bedtime, we want to keep screens turned off at least an hour before sleep times, right? So this allows our body to, you know, kind of wind down.
Sure.
I work with a lot of families that, you know, their children are falling asleep watching, you know, an episode of something on their iPad, or they're waking up at 6 a.m. and their parents are giving them the iPad because the parents want to go back to sleep, so they give it to them so they can watch,
Sure.
right? And so it becomes, you know, a tool, right? But at the same time, you know, if we're mindful of when we're turning it off, it really does allow your body to settle, right? The light from screens is what, you know, changes our melatonin levels and
Sure.
makes it harder for us to fall asleep.
Okay.
Right? So we want to turn them off, you know, at least an hour before, you know, dim the lights, participate in quiet activities, you know, so that these screens are not, you know, something that's keeping us awake. Same with teenagers,
Sure.
right? I mean, my daughter's not a teen yet. She's 11 almost. And, you know, they want to be on their phone all the time, right? So really, you know, setting limits is a big thing. Harder to do in the teenage years. I mean, I'm not looking forward to that piece. But, you know, having just consistent routines in your household makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, the devices seem to be like, whether it's the blue light or even just like stimulation overall, is making their brains. And I mean, this is pervasive in our society. Like, we want instant gratification. We want what we want when we want it all the time. So, I mean, maybe there is something to be said about like just what you described is like winding down the body. I tell people, like, think about your body like as a train. When you want to sleep, there's a train station. If you've ever been on a train, it just doesn't put the brakes on right at the station. Like, it's slowing down leading up to when it's, you know, departure time or getting off.
I've been reading a lot more about this, like dimming the lights and kind of transitioning into that sleep instead of just like jumping into bed from like right after from like chaos.
You used to like do you just go to bed with the lights on? Is that something you've been doing lately?
You know what?
You're like finding, like, did you just do research this last couple of days into like, I better start sleeping? It's like flossing before you go to the dentist.
The reason why I felt strongly about this topic is because
you've been awake for 3 years.
I've been awake like 17 years. Like, I feel like I never got to that point where I was like, oh, like I feel well rested. Maybe like teenage years, I felt like I slept a lot. Like, my parents took me to the doctor to be like, there's something wrong with my kid.
You're anemic.
She's not, yeah, right, something there. But at the same time, it's like I've never felt like I never felt like, oh, I feel so great. Let me jump out of bed and like just get the day started. It's always been like this sluggish thing in the morning. So just looking into this more and, you know, reading into it, looking at this like transitioning into bedtime, even like, you know, what do you do when you wake up? Don't grab the phone right away, right? That's pretty common. But, you know, the reasons for why is because, you know, you're supposed to get natural light before you start to get light from all these devices and things. That's what they say. And then even the idea that there should be a routine. Go to bed every day at the same time. Wake up at the same time every day. Yeah. That's supposed to help too, right? So all these things are helping with your mental health as well, right?
So how is it helping? Because I want more feedback on that. Like, how is your sleep making you mentally healthier?
It's making, first of all, I feel like the fact when people aren't sleeping well, I feel like some people are anxious about that, like that feeling. Like not getting enough sleep, you're checking the time. You're like, oh, now I have 4 hours left before I have to get up. I have 3 hours left.
Oh,
That's
okay.
creating that anxiety. So then you fall asleep and you wake up and you wake up in this anxious state, right? Because
Sure.
you didn't really sleep well
You
anyways.
haven't had restorative sleep.
Yeah, you haven't, right? And your cells are literally restoring in your brain. Why are you laughing?
I don't know. It's just you're saying the right things. It just sounds funny.
Never heard you talk like that.
No, I know
never
it's
heard me.
good. It's good. I was gonna have to say it, but I'm glad you said it instead of me.
Usually I'm talking about curling my hair, so.
Okay. I mean, people have insomnia, and that sucks for them. And a lot of people, they're on medication, or they take like natural things. And I try to dissect where this issue with sleep is coming from, because some people, they have a hard time literally falling asleep, and they'll be in bed for 2-3 hours. They want to sleep, but they can't. Other people, they will fall asleep okay, but then after like an hour and a half, they'll wake up, or every couple hours. And mostly people would be like, well, I have to use the washroom a lot. I have to wake up to use it. And I think that sometimes it's not so much that it's their bladder that's waking them up. I think they're just going through the end of a sleep cycle and kind of popping up awake. And when you're in that superficial, like, I'm half awake, half asleep, your body starts to sense like your bladder is kind of getting there, and you're more acutely aware of the sounds in the house. So you're going to like wake up more often and maybe like, oh, I have that urgency, just like you would first thing in the morning. Like that's sort of a normal habit, but they're getting it every hour and a half, whatever that sleep cycle is. So I feel like it's important to understand what may be interfering with sleep. It could be light, it could be noise. Some, like you mentioned, you're using a sleep mask. Some people, they need to like dim and like shut out light. Other people, they need to have a better hygiene in the evening, where it's like, okay, I'm not drinking 2 liters of water before bed, and I didn't watch like an action movie. I wasn't playing video games until 12. So these are things that maybe they're like, we're sabotaging ourselves. We're not realizing that these are obvious things that are hurting our sleep hygiene. And then from there is all these impacts on our mental health. Like we are the same when we had a bad night. You woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Right. So obviously it's going to affect your mood.
I have a lot of clients who tell me that there's this window of like 4 to 5:30ish where they wake up in the middle of the night and their mind is racing.
Sure.
They're thinking about all these things. These are the things that perhaps happened during the day, or things that they have to deal with in the day, the next day coming up when they wake up. And so, even that, looking at how do we manage that? If we're awake now, how do we manage trying to go back to sleep, right?
Sure.
And some of that is, perhaps putting on a meditation. I feel like a lot of people think a meditation is this thing where you have to like sit on like some kind of the top of a mountain and like, cross your legs. And it's not. You can lie in bed, you can put on a meditation. It can be your favorite. It can be a new one that you're trying. It can be 10 minutes. But just to get your mind away from those stressful things that are keeping you up, and kind of help you with the breathing, with the relaxation, with like, that body scanning, and trying to relax back into a sleep, if that's what.
It's interesting because you mentioned like 4 to 5 o'clock. In Chinese medicine, the different hours of the day are kind of broken into organ function. So 4 to 5 o'clock, if I'm correct, is related to like kidney function. And right. Kidneys in Chinese medicine have a lot to do with anxiety, fear, phobias, that sort of thing. That kind of works on the connection of the kidney and the brain. And people who have low kidney function, they tend to have more of an anxious, fearful disposition. So it's interesting if you have someone who has those, mental health concerns, that there may be a predisposed physiological concern there. Possible. Another aspect that I actually hear a lot of patients that talk to me, they'll tell me that between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, that's a very common time when they'll wake up. And that seems to be a little bit more related to the liver and or blood sugar control. I've even had people say like, I got to wake up and like eat first as soon as I like during the night, because I'm just so hungry. And like, to me, I'm like, wow, I just eat plenty during the day. I never noticed that. But some people, like, there's a physiological drive that'll kind of interrupt sleep if it shows up as a weakness. And then I would presume that a better sleep routine would maybe mask or override some of those like nuances. Like if your body's sensitive, it's going to be oversensitive at those times.
And that, that relation between other organs in your brain is kind of interesting, right? You can actually have hallucinations if there's something very wrong with your kidney. You can have hallucinations if you have kidney stones. So,
From the pain?
No.
No.
No, even without the pain, you can actually have.
So you're speaking from like you have anecdotal experience with that.
I've actually read about the fact that you can, any sort of damage to your kidney can create hallucinations.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Do I need to like get footnotes or something here?
No, I mean it's sufficient for our
link
purpose
at some point somewhere.
But that, like, I would be interested in understanding more of like what's happening there and why, because there are so many things in like in publications where specialists are like, yeah, you know what, this is a thing we have. Like they'll be like, yeah, these people, they like hallucinate. We call it hallucination kidney guy. I don't know, whatever you call it. But there is nuances, and we don't necessarily dig into like the physiological reasoning. And sometimes it's up to like these quirky naturopaths to try to put the two pieces together. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. Maybe it's Chinese medicine. We should have had a Chinese medicine expert next time.
Okay. Yeah.
We got Justin. Justin's my acupuncture guy. What else in terms of mental health and sleep? Because I feel like we're not doing it justice by just saying like it's important. And part of what we're doing now is like saying like, well, we know why it's harmful not to sleep. And so maybe like talk about like melatonin or anything that's like a sleep aid or things that people do to help them sleep. And like, what's your experience with that? Like, does that seem to help like just sleep? Does it have an overreaching effect on every other aspect of their life, their mental health?
I tend not to be one to promote the use of melatonin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more into the natural ways that your body can, increase melatonin levels, decrease melatonin levels.
Can you speak to that? Because some people be like, well, listen, I'm good with not taking a supplement if my body is going to produce it, but how can I improve its production?
Yeah, having good sleep hygiene is one of them. Having a consistent routine every single day that roughly looks the same, right? Waking up at the same time, going to sleep at the same time, exposure to natural light.
Is that specific to like waking, like the first thing in the morning, I presume?
First thing when you wake, as well as during the day too. Some of us work in offices that maybe don't have windows, or there's just like office lighting,
Sure.
like this. So we want to have opportunities throughout the day where we are exposed to natural light.
Yeah. I like red light.
I saw.
I've been blasting people with my red light.
I've seen a lot of
should
this
we
red
just have
light.
like red light everywhere? Like, should we just live in like a red light?
Well, I mean, some people would go as basic as like, even if you just had a red light bulb, or put a red filter or I think that's a little bit like oversimplistic, but I do believe that the red wavelength and the near infrared wavelength, what it's borrowing is from the active wavelength in the sunlight, that it's sort of devoiding the blue and, obviously ultraviolet and other areas of the spectrum, that highlighting the red is what rejuvenates our cells. Now, I think that there's benefits to full spectrum, full light, and like a lot of people use the SAD light or full spectrum light in the morning to kind of like help like reestablish that like sunlight, especially this time of year or in the climate, or if you're in a condo or whatever it may be, you don't have a big window. The light studies, there's so many studies, like light therapy is like the most studied natural therapy, because it's so far reaching across, like from like laser therapy to even just regular light, to UV radiation of any kind, and understanding how each different wavelength has an impact on different parts of the body and physiological concerns. So stimulating our cells, red light seems to have the best impact, and it helps with mood, it helps with circulation, healing, anti-aging.
It's interesting how all these things are provided to us naturally, but because of the way that our lives are, we have to find ways to do them
artificially.
Yeah.
That's our
Robots.
clip. That's our clickbait right there. We're going to use that as the Instagram post. That was good.
Is my hair nice?
No, who cares about hair? Can you say it again?
I was saying it's interesting how all these things are provided to us naturally. Oh, did you really mean for me to say it again?
No, but I'm glad you did. I want to see if you actually remembered what you said. Like, well, let me go back to the beginning.
I don't know what I just said.
But I like that idea, and I think we are looking at ways to use what nature gives us and stop trying to find like a synthetic or an artificial way of inducing it, when we are just acutely aware that our lifestyle is sabotaging our health, both physical and mental. I like to I give people subtle digs, or like I kind of just point their nose at the problem. It's like, hey, do you notice that you go to bed at different times every day? You go to bed like after midnight. Do you realize that you only sleep 4 hours because you think that it's inefficient to sleep? I think that whole gist of like, I need to be uber active, uber efficient with every waking minute because some CEO billionaire said that he sleeps 3 hours and then is in an ice bath at 3 a.m. So I'm going to do that.
Right.
And then I'm going to, they're just going to drop dead probably. But like, they think that's super successful and motivating.
So that's the culture, right? That hustle culture. That's what it's become. If you aren't doing anything, which is your mind and your body need to sometimes do nothing.
Sleep is the most undoing thing that we can do, exactly. But it's doing so much.
It's doing a lot.
But it's indirectly an inactive state.
Right.
We shut down.
But this hustle culture, and I feel like Toronto is like the worst for it, is this idea that if you're not doing, you're lazy, right? You're lazy. If someone's sleeping the amounts of times they're supposed to be sleeping or going to bed at the right time, whatever that right time is for their body, that's considered lazy.
Yeah, it's true.
Not being productive.
And more than not being productive, it's like there's nothing to brag about. No one's going to take a picture of themselves in a bed with a mask on. Good night, everyone. It's 8 o'clock.
Can't wait to see your picture.
So what time should people go to bed?
Okay, so this obviously varies.
You're on the spot. There's only one answer. I'm just kidding.
It varies depending on your age, right?
What time should I go to bed?
Should you go to bed?
Honestly,
I'm 37.
So it depends, what you're to. You're 37, so am I. It really depends on, number one, your body, number two, your age, and number three, obviously, what your lifestyle is in terms of, do we have to be up at a certain time to be somewhere, right? So if we have to be up at 7, because, we have to get our kids to school or something like that, right? I mean, adults should be getting anywhere from 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Right? I prefer, to try and get at least about 8 is a really great number.
Sure.
And when you get less than that, if you're used to getting 8 hours of sleep and you get 7 hours, you really feel it. Mm-hmm. Right? Some people think that extra hour doesn't make a difference. It totally does.
Yes.
Right? And it keeps you out of that overtired state.
Sure.
Right? And because when you're in that overtired state, it's hard to fall asleep. It's hard to wake up. And so, you're constantly caught in this cycle, right? So, 7 to 9 hours is great, for adults. Teens need a little bit more than that. Anywhere from 9 to 12 hours is, a good time range.
So let's use actual time, what time they would go to bed. So a teen's bedtime, let's say 14-year-old, they need to be in bed by, if you're saying 10 to 12, that's 9 a.m. 9 p.m.
9 p.m. Yeah, absolutely.
So they're up at 7.
If they're up at 7,
and that's 10 hours.
Anywhere I would say average really between 9 and 10 p.m. is a good time frame for them to.
Good luck though.
Be going to sleep. Good luck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And your teen to go to bed at 9, right? That's.
Especially.
Why are you saying that?
I feel like that it's this idea of being older and getting older, and this is what I was saying about these are the habits that develop into adulthood, and then you're kind of oh, now I'm older, I can stay up a little bit longer, right? And then what happens then?
So you get to my age and you're it's 10 o'clock and you're I would like to go to bed now.
I'm finding that bed is more appealing. I remember when I think I was young, maybe I was in the 7th grade. And there was a phase where it's I think I was getting into bed at a reason, probably about 10 p.m. because I had to take the bus in the morning. And I got to a point where am I weird? Because I look forward to sleeping. I actually felt I was excited to go to bed. I don't know if it was a phase, if I was something, it was, it didn't last. But sometimes you kind of get into no, I kind of want to 10:30, 11. There's nights when I don't. I go to bed way later, but if you get into a habit and you have a routine, it's I know I'm going to sleep well. I'm going to feel comfortable. I'm going to wake up at a decent, I'm not going to feel 7:30, I got to get up. Oh, darn it. You're going to feel good. It actually is rewarding.
Yes.
And obviously all the benefits that we already talked about. So it is a little bit of a hard sell when it's, you got a parent because you're trying to educate the parent, and then the parent has to reinforce this to their teen. Because the teens, like there's phases when these kids want to be up all night.
Yes.
And not just, and then the energy drinks and the stimulation from video games or talking or whatever it is. Yeah. It's hard because these kids are going to be mentally fried.
I know. Or even, let's say for parents, that idea of like, when my kids finally go to bed, I want this like hour to myself to do whatever it is that I want to do.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing. Or like read a book or whatever, watch TV without the kids jumping around. Yes. But that's then leading, like pushing us to later and later in the night.
Yeah, well, a lot of
get
people
your kids to bed earlier. I mean, at our house, right? I mean, it depends if your kids are in activities and things like that. But on days where your kids don't have scheduled activities and that, we aim to get them to bed like a little bit earlier. Like by 8:30, I'm really like shutting the house down for the older ones, right? Mm-hmm. Our 3-year-old, she goes to bed at 7. And so after she's in bed, it's like, the world is yours, and then when we get the older ones to bed, then, Steve and I can watch a Netflix show together and still get to bed, by 10:30 because everyone's, where they need to be. We can watch a show, we can wind down after, and then, it's not so late.
What about dreams? You guys dream? You remember your dreams? Is that a stupid question?
No.
No?
No. I find it depends if I remember my dreams. I remember the most drastic ones, right? If it was kind of boring.
I remember them, and I feel like they have a lot to do with what's going on in life, right? It might be like a weird twist on it, but there is something that's really...
You're riding a horse?
Yeah, what? Well, I might actually do that, though, so... No, it'll be like something's happening.
Where this is going.
I have no idea where this is going.
I don't know. All I know is that you're a horse lover.
Yes. No, but what I mean is it'll be like, something will be happening, but it's in like a different environment or something, right?
Rodeo.
And when your life, sure. And when your life is, I feel like when life is chaotic, the dreams are chaotic. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a correlation
of
between
course.
the two.
If you're jumping into bed after chaos, like what's going to happen? Your mind is not settled, right?
Okay.
So you're thinking about those things.
Yeah.
What is the Chinese medicine saying about dreams?
I'm a little rusty in that area, but
do you really want to go there?
No, I think it's important. I know. I think it has to do with the heart meridian, where your mind, your active mind, and like it's almost related to like the dialogue in your head, like you're hearing your voice. If that's what you call it.
Your inner voice, yeah.
And it's a way for it to kind of manifest and digest everything that's been going on in the day or in the recent past. And your brain is trying to reconcile all these concepts. So when someone who has their sleep impaired, the idea is that it's called the Shen is disturbed, or their mental spirit. And so it's more likely that they'll have like crazy dreams or like overly vivid dreams, or like they're watching a movie all night and their brain is like, it's not getting into a deep enough rest state. So it's like kind of like playing constantly. I say it's like having your car in the driveway parked, but it's on and your engine is
like warming up.
Yeah. But like 8 hours of that. So the end result is that you don't restore your brain function. You don't wake up refreshed. I mean, what I look at sleep as has to do with like adrenal function. And I think that's where, going back to that post, I'm kind of retroactively explaining myself. I said number 2 was adrenal function. The adrenal gland is not well understood either. And I think a lot of the benefits that sleep that we assign to sleep is actually related to how sleep allows the adrenal gland to repopulate itself. Because I tell people, think about your gland as, the adrenal gland is like your cell phone. And it's like if you plug it in at night, when you wake up in the morning, it's 100%. A good night's sleep gives your adrenal gland 100% of its repopulated hormones. So that you wake up, you get this big boost of cortisol that's supposed to like be like your natural kickstart. And then it's supposed to kind of diminish throughout the day. What we're seeing is that people that don't sleep well, they wake up with low morning cortisol. You don't get this spike, so you feel sluggish. And we assign it to, you had a bad night's sleep. Well, it's like maybe physiologically, yes, you didn't sleep, but you're lacking that cortisol boost that's not there. So then what happens? Your body's producing cortisol as the day goes on, and then your cortisol in the evening, 8, 9 o'clock, starts to reach a maximum. So it's like you're getting like 2 shots of espresso before bedtime. And then what's happening to your brain? You don't want to sleep. You don't want to.
If you're in those moments, if you're also stressed out, your cortisol levels are going up even higher, right? So throughout the day.
Sure.
No?
Yes, it's true. I think you try to sabotage my point with making it yours.
No.
You just said cortisol after I said cortisol.
Are we not having the same conversation here? Let me have
You're just supposed to talk about mental health.
So cortisol is your stress.
I know, it's true.
Don't get mad.
I'm not mad. No, it's good. We have to collaborate. It's fine. Okay, go on with the cortisol. What I'm
saying is you're saying the cortisol levels are going up at like 8 or 9.
Yes.
So if you
and that's when people's minds go busy and they'll
so
go
if you've been
paranoid.
Stressed out throughout the day.
That's right.
Yeah, paranoid there, right? So if you're stressed out throughout the day, you have that cortisol plus additional cortisol. So now the levels that you're supposed to
double cortisol.
Yes. Triple,
and then what happens?
That's
and you can't sleep.
Now you can't sleep.
Or if you do sleep, it's not a deep sleep.
Right, or you're waking up super stressed out.
That's right. Or you're peeing every 15 minutes, just like a horse that you're dreaming of.
So your post had sleep as the underlying something there.
I didn't write sleep. I can't go back and be like, because if I was to redo it.
Go redo it now.
No, I can't, because then I'll look like a dummy. But I can tunnel my way and be like, well, adrenal gland function is representing what sleep would be providing. And that's why I was kind of being a bit of a hard ass with like, what's sleep actually doing? Because I did Google it. I did like try to do like some, not necessarily PubMed searches, but what the studies and general facts are with regarding sleep. And it's an implied correlation. And maybe like a lot of things in natural medicine, everything's sort of correlation or implied. It's kind of, well, someone who doesn't sleep, they have this reduction in their white blood cell production. It's like, well, that's like saying, on Tuesdays, I tend to, I find that my coffee gets cold too quickly. And it's like, well, that's a correlation. That's just a coincidence. What's actually changing here? So that's when the cortisol kind of comes in, and I'm sticking with that. And that internet troll can kiss it. I don't know. What cajoles someone to write a negative comment? I don't think I ever made a negative comment. You look like you write a lot.
Do I write negative comments?
Yeah.
No, I'm like the maybe what people notice about my internet activity is that I don't comment enough. And then sometimes I feel bad. I'm like, should I be commenting on this? Someone commented.
Let's talk about this.
Why? This inner guilt of social media, not commenting?
You should just say, I'm working on my mental health and taking a break from social media.
No one says it. It's internal. My inner voice is telling me that I should have commented or
say they're going to taking a break.
Yeah.
Because social media can ruin and run your life.
Yes.
Yeah. We can do a million podcasts and somehow we can incorporate social media into that.
Yeah, it's because you're addicted to it. You're an expert.
Me?
Yes?
I'm an expert addicted to social media?
No, you're the psychotherapist. You have to know about this stuff. I mean, like in your practice, are you finding...
I thought you meant I'm addicted to social media myself. A little bit.
I did say that, but I mean, let's just go to the real point. It's like,
message
let's talk about like your clients. Are you finding that comes up?
Social media?
Yeah.
All the time.
Okay, well, then don't hold back.
I feel like
talk
we
about
talked
it.
about this in the last podcast.
Oh, no one remembers that. That was like 10 years ago.
Don't go back to the old podcast. Listen to this. Again, about, using social media to compare things, using social media to connect. But then also this feeling of like, if someone didn't post something or someone did post something, it's taking it so personally. Or, sometimes I'll be scrolling and I'm half paying attention, half doing something else. And someone's like, they didn't like my post. And I'm like, I might not even know, like, I'm mindlessly doing this thing that I might not have even noticed.
You know what's been amazing is that you probably liked every other person's post in that little circle that you have with these people, except theirs.
Perhaps. Or the idea that sometimes on like Instagram stories, like I'll start watching and then something happens, I put my phone down, the stories are still going. It doesn't mean that I actually saw them, but they're gone, and now they're gone forever.
You should spend a little bit more time on your phone.
Maybe. Or maybe like...
at bedtime.
Yeah. Not undivided bedtime.
Yeah, you're on that. That was good.
An hour before.
Dim the lights.
Cut off. So yes, melatonin. I usually tell people, be in bed before midnight, and if it's dark,
Before
that.
Even before. Did I say midnight? I meant 10 p.m.
Midnight is too late. You want to push it to like 11, fine. After that, it's a no for me.
That was a pretty strong negotiation. 11, it's a hard no.
It's a no.
Okay.
11 is the new midnight.
So what time should we wake up?
7 o'clock is, a pretty average.
There's a bunch of construction people would be like, this is
God bless those construction workers that have to be up at 4.
4 or earlier.
Their circadian rhythm is on a whole other.
Well, actually, that is a good idea. A good topic. I mean, shift work. What would you tell someone that, because I have a lot of patients that they have shifts, whether they're in nursing or a factory or whatever it may be. What's the best that they can do?
Well, they're obviously on a different schedule, right? They're not going to be on the same schedule that we're on, right? But this is why, having blackout curtains so that we can change their melatonin levels, because they're coming home when the sun
Pilots,
is up, right?
Do you guys know about that? And air flight attendants. So there are certain, I guess it's in an apartment or hotel, I think it is, that is geared towards keeping them on their primary clock. So if they do an 18-hour flight and they're a different, totally opposite side of the world, they'll have a hotel room that is blacked out and they can maintain their sleep cycle, and so that they don't totally get out of sync, which is good. And it obviously shows that, that industry, they've looked into it because it must have been contributing to some, health concerns.
Yeah, that's why we need, the blackout curtains are key. Anyone for sure who's on any kind of shift work. So we can emulate, the darkness of this, it's nighttime, right?
Sure.
It's time for sleep, because if you try to fall asleep coming home from, shift work with the curtains open, broad daylight, you're not going to be able to really fall asleep. And if you do, it's not going to be a restorative sleep. You're not going to sleep for a long stretch of time, allowing your body to repair itself.
Sure.
And so we want to make sure we set up the environment that's conducive for sleep, making sure it's the right temperature, lighting is huge. I'm a big, person on a sound machine, although I tend to like them more for my children than for myself.
Yeah.
I don't love them. I don't know if you guys use a sound machine yourself.
I feel like when I was a teenager, I used just a fan. Is that not?
A fan. Yeah,
noise,
that's how we.
Sorry, time's a tough guy.
Did you go?
Flick the fan in the
blowing into it.
Talk into it like a robot. I did that too. But anything to kind
sticking
of drown out that or that sudden noise that wakes you.
That would wake you. Yes. So I would really encourage the use of a sound machine, especially for shift workers.
How about if someone said how about earplugs?
Yeah, I don't know. Sleeping with earplugs, I might
scary.
Find that uncomfortable.
But I feel what's it called?
A sleep mask?
Yeah, those are
I know. My daughter sleeps with one. I've never tried actually to sleep with a sleep mask myself. We have blackout curtains.
It takes a little bit of getting used to, maybe.
Does it feel weird?
I don't know. I feel like you have to find the right one for yourself, too.
Okay, right? Assuming you find the right one.
Assuming you find the right one. I don't think, what are you worried about?
Did you test a few out?
Yeah, I had ones that were just the cutesy ones that say leave me alone or whatever on them.
That's fluffy.
That's not a good one.
No. Is yours fluffy or is it silky?
No,
everything's fluffy.
It almost looks like a bra almost. It's more so like this than like a.
And you want it to have that bra
so and then it kind of.
Okay, eyebrows.
And it has
perfect.
An adjustable strap in the back there.
This is stupid. All right, let's skip the eyebrow. Temperature in the room.
Yeah.
Some people, they like to be cozy. Cold. I was going to say cold. I like cold.
Cozy, but
you don't know what to say.
You
went back to the eyebrows.
I like the temperature to be cold in the room, but then I like to pile the blankets on. That makes it cozy.
How about the pillow?
Pajamas?
Oh, pajamas. Is this TMI?
No pajamas?
Pajamas on. Pajamas on 3 layers.
I like pajamas. My husband is the opposite, though, of me.
What's the opposite? No pajamas. Where's street clothes?
No, street clothes are not allowed in the bed. Clothes that you wore outside?
I was kidding, but Besides it being dirty, but is there like a sleep issue for that?
Well,
I mean, you obviously don't sleep in your clothes. I never said I didn't say pajamas. I said pajamas.
No, like I don't want you to wear, like if you wore that sweater out and then you couldn't come home and get in bed and wear that.
I feel like this is like a mom rule than a sleep thing.
No, it's like a dirty.
It's like a dirty.
No, I don't disagree. I don't sleep in my sweaters from work, my work sweater.
And your socks, it's also a no.
Yeah, a lot of people sleep in socks.
So you can sleep with socks, but clean socks, not the socks that you
gotta change your socks to go to bed.
Don't you like need your feet to breathe?
Yes, a lot of people like to sleep with socks on. It really depends on the temperature in your home, right? That really it's
hot in my house.
It's supposed to be. It should be cool when you're going to bed.
So they say it should be, between 20 and 23
Why
degrees.
do you hate me right now?
I
stole the cortisol question thing, and since then it's just been downhill. No matter what I say.
It's like I had such a good story.
What's the temperature at in your house?
20 degrees Celsius.
20?
That's a little cold.
No,
that's cold.
No, it's not 20.
I mean, they say between 20 and 23 is very average. My house is at 23. I prefer it a little bit warmer.
I love it warm in my house.
That's not the ideal way to fall asleep, though.
Yeah, but how about being awake during the day? 16 hours a day take over for the 8 hours at night. I'm not going to turn the temperature down at night. I can't bother.
There's settings.
Yeah, I know.
It turns down automatically.
Okay, but you turn up. So you have a cold in the house during the day?
What's it set at right now?
Come on.
Like 21, 22?
Yes. So you can see your breath when you come inside your house.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I wear clothes. No, you can be cozy. You can have a sweater on. You can have all these things on. A lot of times there's like the lights shining into the house. I don't have blackout curtains downstairs.
No, you don't need them downstairs.
Lights shining in the house, warming it up a bit.
But
at bedtime.
Let's talk to warm house people.
I feel warm. Warm is like
the
cozy.
Warm is good, but it's not good to fall asleep in. Your body needs it to be a little bit cold to fall asleep.
Yeah, she's the sleep expert too. You see how she hijacks everything.
Next time, this podcast is going to be just me sitting here talking, taking everyone's ideas.
No, I love that you have.
You're passionate about cold air.
Well, I mean, we're all entitled to our opinions.
I agree. That I agree with.
This is scientific, guys. It's scientific.
Yes. I mean, we definitely would like it to be cooler than warmer,
I agree.
especially when we're talking like babies and that, right? Because this can increase, SIDS. And so we want to make sure that the temperature isn't too hot.
And people are surprised at how cool it should be for infants.
Yes.
Like 19,
like
18?
18, yeah.
That seems cold because we're bugging about having a house, a fridge of 20 degrees.
I'm just that youthful. I have this infant.
Okay.
All I know is that there is a point in the mornings when you're waking up that your body naturally starts to heat up.
That's true.
Yes. So if you are already toasty, what's happening then? You're sweating?
You don't have that. No, we're bugging you, but it is correct what you're saying. Like part of like hydrotherapy is like challenging your body to self-regulate and to warm up. Like even there's the wet sock therapy. I've never done it.
No, I don't want to be a part of that.
I know, but apparently people who do it, they're like in your camp, like your idea of like keep it cold, but make our body have to self-adjust and self-regulate. And then you start thermogenically increasing your core metabolism.
So
it's
what
true.
You just put on wet socks and
get in bed?
Wet cotton socks, and then you're supposed to put wool socks. Yeah. But that's if like you got like a lot of sinus and get congestion, and then you wake up and it's supposed to like dry everything out. It's a very aggressive thing, but people swear by it. It's a thing.
I think you should try it and let us know how it goes.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that next time.
Do a post.
Do a
post about it.
Do a post.
Like,
I'll get a pneumonia. It didn't work for me, but like, good luck. No, I think I'm good.
As long as you talk about sleep in there, then you're okay.
Yeah, I slept with socks on that are wet. No, that's terrible. That's worse than wearing dirty sweaters.
And dirty socks.
No, if the wet socks are clean.
If you had to pick wet socks or a dirty sweater, I bet you look like you sleep in dirty sweaters.
I do.
I would probably pick the dirty sweater over the wet socks.
Yeah, so we've come full circle now.
I don't know what I've choose.
I've restored myself.
Wash the sheets as soon as I wake up.
Is there anything about the sheets? I mean, I think a cool pillow is something that would like some people, the pillows are bad when it's like hot. That's ugly.
There's so many different pillows out there. Honestly, it's like overwhelming. And how do you, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, finding the right pillow. I'm definitely not the person for that, but I'm still trying to find the right pillow. But honestly, like a silk pillowcase, like a game changer. I don't know if you guys have ever used one, but
I can picture it.
Yeah, like the coolness that it brings as well. It's supposed to be good for your hair, for your skin. I definitely can say it has made a difference for me. So I mean, something to consider.
That's good.
And then, you know,
Or is it that you're
sheets.
sleeping well and that's making your skin better?
I bet it's red light therapy. And
It's
sleep.
red light making your skin better.
Yet. What's snoring? Well, I just wanted a couple of quick bullet points. What do you think about snoring? Do you have any opinions on?
Snores.
Most husbands snore. You know what I told my wife?
You guys?
This is a wacky theory.
Are you about
Tell me
to tell
about
us that
snoring.
Maria snores? Because I don't want to partake in this conversation.
No. I but I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about men in general who snore. Sounds crazy, but I think there's something to it.
Is.
What? You said that out loud. No, but I'm going to say it, and then you're going to be like, I feel like men who snore really badly, it is a subconscious, passive-aggressive way of getting mad at their wife.
Is this Chinese medicine?
It might be. I don't know if it is. So I see a correlation of snoring and having a fatty liver.
Okay.
Now, you don't have to be overweight to have a fatty liver.
Right.
And I know a lot of slim guys that snore. Because usually when I treat someone and they're overweight and they're like, well, I'm snoring and my doctor told me to lose weight. I mean, that kind of makes sense. But the losing weight process, is it just a physical thing? Well, I have more mass, so I'm going to snore. Or is there something that's kind of working deeper? Because when I see patients who are slim, but we'll call them skinny fat for that purpose, they have a fatty liver. All these guys, and I'm looking back at like my little roster of patients, and I'm like, the ones that bring up snoring, they also bring up like a lot of stress, stuff like they're more of like an internalizer. They don't really say.
They have mean wives.
What's that?
They have mean wives.
No, it's not that. I think men in general have a hard time expressing what they feel. This is where you're supposed to come in.
Yes,
so then, if a man has feelings, men have feelings. Last I checked,
if a man has feelings,
and they don't say it,
Yes.
does that hurt something? Is that there's like a problem there mentally?
course.
Of course.
Of course.
When isn't our body always trying to find balance?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what you're saying is they hold it in all day and then snore it out.
Yes.
You said it correctly, but it sounds stupider when you say it like that.
It's possible.
So men snoring is them getting mad at their wives, and it's a way of getting even.
So what about when my 3-year-old snores and we're going for a sleep
I
set?
would say, so that's
like tonsils.
yeah. I would say like cut out dairy.
Hemorrhoids. Oh, right.
I'm
She
a
already
big
doesn't have dairy.
at all.
No. Okay, I shouldn't say at all.
Zero.
No, it's not 0. It would be like 80%.
That's too much. I would go the whole household 0.
We've tried because I have a dairy intolerance as well, but I just
It's so hard.
It's so hard.
It's so
You're not helping. It's an absolute. If you're getting to the point where it's like sleep study or like tonsils have to be like looked at, like it has to be 0 because the rates of ear and sinus infections, it's nonstop because it festers. It doesn't get cleared out, or it takes so long for the tissues to retract that until they retract, they're predisposed to getting sick again. So you're gonna get infection, and sometimes it's like, think of it as like that same original infection, just tidally rising and falling, remitting and going and coming back. So that's different. That is a good example, a good like way to kind of offset the quackery that I said about men being mad at their wives and getting even.
But what about snoring because you're so tired? Can you snore when you're overworked? Is that a thing?
Do you snore?
That's a good question.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, you don't work hard enough.
I guess not. Hustle culture didn't get me.
You sound like you're selling T-shirts. Hustle culture. You mentioned like 4 times.
Because that's
hustleculture.com.
what it is. Yeah. Oh. You need them to sponsor, because then now you're just giving them free publicity, whatever. Hustle culture.
I'm going to check the website, see if the domain's available still. So I think people, I think my mom said it. She goes, if I sleep and I'm drooling, then I had a good night's sleep.
Oh.
Is that true? You're the expert.
Because I guess it's like,
I don't know if there's a correlation between the two. I mean,
well, drooling in your sleep probably means that you're in a deep sleep.
Deep sleep, for sure.
Deep sleeps are good.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's where the restorative piece comes in.
Yeah.
Right?
So if my pillow's soaked, I had a great night's sleep. You seem real. Look at me like,
yeah. Please stop.
Did you sleep?
Yeah.
Look at my pillow.
Wring it out.
She's like, wearing that sweater again?
my pillow's wet, my socks aren't.
Socks are dry.
What sock? Wet. Yeah, wet sock. Wet pillow.
But yeah, no, I think, restorative sleep obviously is what we're looking for, right? That's what we want to have every single night. So, I mean, if the drooling happens because we were in that.
So what to aim for? I hope
goals.
Your bedtime prayers. I hope my pillow's soaked in the morning and I don't pee the bed again.
But what about that part that's not your deep sleep?
That REM?
The REM.
Yeah. Your eyes are flickering and
the lighter stage of sleep, and that's when we're often, coming out of sleep cycles is when that, that stage happens too, or when we're starting to fall asleep, that drowsy, state. That's when we're most often,
Is that when like sleep
up.
paralysis happens?
Sleep paralysis. What are you talking about?
Sleep paralysis. You guys don't know what sleep paralysis is?
Well, let me just reactivate my camera. We're wrapping up with just my, I think there's a 1 hour.
You know what sleep paralysis is?
I know what
it is. When you're like half like, why is that a creep? It's like when you're like half in and half out, and then you can't move. You're like awake but asleep. No, just shut the camera off. Shut it off.
No, I don't want to shut it off. This is good. This is the good stuff.
No.
Yeah.
She always tease you like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Tease right back, Fendi sweater.
What's that supposed to mean? Sleep paralysis. I tie that on my camera, so I got to move over so I'm in the middle. I think that's like scary dreams, spooky stuff. Get your house blessed.
Yeah, sage it, something.
No, it doesn't work.
No, I don't know. It's I feel like I've experienced it.
Yeah.
When you're like half in, half out, and you can't move and you can't scream, and you're just like stuck there.
I don't know my sciencey brain would probably say that your waking conscious brain hasn't like fully like transitioned from sleep.
Like you haven't exited.
So you're like physical
senses. I'm not saying that like demons are entering anything. I'm just saying that there's a point. Why are you sweating? It's too hot in here.
It was. I did put it up a little bit too high. I noticed.
I think it's perfect.
I like it. I like it warm.
I like the temperature to be cold, and then I'll put like a sweater on, or I'll put a blanket on.
So you tell your kids at home when they're cold.
Yeah, like put your slippers on. Why do we buy these panda bear big unicorn slippers if you're not going to wear them? But I like to just feel like I can breathe better when the air isn't.
That's true.
Warm.
How about sleeping with the window open? Is that no one does that anymore, eh?
Unless if you're in lately, I would not sleep with any windows open.
Someone gonna climb into the second floor window. I heard snoring. You got anything to steal?
Yo, this guy's pillow is so drooly. Getting out of here.
Oh, he's like, you can tell the burglars are touching your pillow. It's like he's deep sleeping.
He's good. We're good. No, I mean, obviously, fresh air is so good for building what we refer to as sleep pressure, right? For your body's ability to get tired.
Well, that's interesting. I like that.
I know. Sorry, I saved it till the end.
No, that's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. You want to get outside and have natural light and fresh air. This is what we often encourage, like families with young children, especially, to build that sleep pressure. Sometimes people will be like, oh, yeah, no, my kids are not tired. Really, they are. But if you're looking for ways to help build that sleep pressure, getting outside in fresh air will absolutely do that.
I like that. That ties into, again, the Chinese medicine. I use that premise of like building up yin or using up yang. So that symbol, everyone says it wrong. First of all, they call it yin and yang. No, it's yin, Y-I-N. Yin is the part where it's like your body wants to be cozy and calm and quiet, like what you picture, what you're describing sleep as. But yang is like being like the opposite of what we think. It's like it's hyperactive. They're like, you don't look tired. You look like you want to like, you know, run around the building. If you don't have enough of that yang energy depleted in the day, which going out and, you know, being outside and building up that pressure like you described, that's a great way. That's okay. You have to go.
That's the alarm to pick my kids up from school.
Okay, we're going to wrap up. We don't want them to be waiting around. But if you don't build or burn off enough of that yang excessive stimulating energy, you're not going to be getting into a deep enough sleep, and you're going to have like a busy mind, overstimulated, and it's going to be hard for you to like relax. So what you're describing kind of is saying the same thing as what I kind of see as well.
Last thing about the sleep thing.
Yeah.
Have you noticed, or have parents said to you that their children's behavior is a lot better and a lot different?
Game changer. Right. Yes. Even I work with a lot of toddlers, and so they'll come to me and, you know, my child is, you know, their behavior is out of control. You know, they're very defiant. You know, everything is a challenge, right? And when we get sleep on track, they're like, I cannot believe the transformation in the way that they behave. There's just so much nicer to be around.
Right. They're like, I can't believe this is the same kid.
Yes. Yes. And they're like, why didn't we do this sooner?
That's what everyone says. Yes. Why didn't I do this sooner?
Yes.
Especially, I mean, in particular, sleep training.
Yes.
But then just getting their
so
sleep hygiene.
Can't that be the same for adults? We're probably less crappy if we're getting the right
Absolutely.
A million times.
I notice in myself, right, when I've had a good night's sleep, I'm a lot more pleasant the next day. But catch me when I haven't slept well, and you know, my child's telling me to rub lavender oil on my...
I saw you.
I was like, is it true? Should I be doing that?
Lavender?
Yeah.
Start there. Yeah. And then
my kid telling me this yesterday.
See the kids from the mouths of babes. All right. This was fantastic. Thank you for coming. Thank you for the idea. You planned this.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Yes,
I did. And then I tried to speak, and then I was whatever happened there.
Sleep shamed.
Cold
house shame. That would be fantastic.
No.
Yes.
No.
Because she didn't want to do the first one. And now now the second one, she's cocky, and then she's like, I want to take over. She's gonna brand her own podcast.
Just forget you.
The Sara Show.
Hustle.com. That's my podcast.
Hustle.com. It's so dumb. Stop biting your sister's style.
Yeah, doesn't she have a name?
Did you not realize that's what
Fire Hustle? Check it out. No.
Yeah, I remember seeing something like that.
I really wasn't even thinking about that.
Summer's gonna be like, there's other words than hustle, you know?
Yeah.
You're a psychotherapy. You don't have to hustle. Well, what are you gonna do? Jog in the
bedrooms are fire. I'm trying to drop those subliminal messages in here.
Okay.
I totally forgot. Hi, Summer. Edit this out.
Nope, that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.